We're going to skip ahead a little bit in John chapter 1, but I'm going to read starting with verse 10 all the way through 14. The first couple won't be on the screen, but verse 14 will be. He was in the world, and the world was made through him. Yet the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own people did not receive him. But to all that who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And we have seen his glory, glory as the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. Verse 10's hard here. We get what I call the tragedy in John's gospel. It's hard to read that, and we talk about in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. And then we get to verse 10, and it's like crashing halt. And I think the irony here is important in what John sets up for us. The world did not know it did not know him. The world didn't know its own maker. And what's worse than that? He came to his people. The chosen nation, the chosen people, his own people, and they did not recognize him. People that he trusted with his promises and provision for them, and they still did not receive him. The Creator walked through his creation, and creation looked right past him. This isn't a footnote in John's gospel. It's the central tragedy of it. It's the tragedy of the Gospel of John, and it happens still today. People can study the universe and different forces inside that and miss the Word, miss the one who made it all. If they can recognize and study this force of gravity but miss the Maker, I can't imagine it. It would be like you get plans for this huge house that you're going to build, and it's just the way you want it. It has the picket fence and the wraparound porch, and it's heated floor tiles or whatever. You create it the way you want it to be, and you finish it. And then you go walking in the front door, and everyone in there says, "Can you leave? Can you get out of here?" I can't imagine building a house and doing all that, walking through the front door and saying, "Can you leave?" But that's what John tells us. He was in the world, and the world did not know him. I'm glad that it doesn't stop there. So we continue with verse 12, and that's super important. But the story could have ended there with rejection. Instead, John writes, but the tragedy is not the end of the sentence, to all who did receive him. John pivots, he turns here from rejection to invitation. Those who receive him and believe in him, believe in his name, are given the right to become children of God. Not by bloodline, not by privilege, not by any human effort, not because of your parents or where you were raised or anything like that, but because of God's own will. That's not a title that we can earn. It's not something we can take on for ourselves. And then Mark mentioned, if we were to buy our salvation, it would take everything we had, and then that still wouldn't be enough. But the Word who made the world now remakes those who receive him. And I think this is super important. John doesn't say, and they become employees. He doesn't say, and they become citizens. He doesn't say they even become servants. He says children. God doesn't just merely forgive sinners. He adopts sons and daughters. And then our third point here is the climax of it all, the point that he wants to drive home, what the whole part has been building to. This eternal, uncreated, all-creating Word became flesh. And then that's verse 14. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory. Glory is only the Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. The Greek word that John uses here for dwelt literally means to pitch a tent or set up camp. I think Eugene Peterson message paraphrases is he moved into the neighborhood, which is a very good picture of what it is. And God's presence that once dwelt in the tabernacle among Israel now sets up camp, dwells among us. Not behind a veil like we sung about, but in a body that anyone could touch, that anyone would see, and anyone who would know. So think about this. The Word that's always been. Jesus came to earth. God, who never knew hunger, became hungry. Sorry, I think I'm getting hungry there. Sorry. The God who never grew tired, who created creation and didn't get tired, took naps, even naps on a boat. The God who spoke the stars into existence is learning to speak on Mary's lap. The Creator and Jesus experienced scraped knees, tears, loneliness, and even betrayal. The Word became flesh. And then John says, we have seen his glory. He's not speaking abstractly. He's not speaking figuratively. He walked with him. He ate with him. He watched him weep. He watched him bleed. He watched him die. And he watched him be raised again. The glory of God that was once hidden behind smoke and veils and thunder is now a visible human face. And what filled that glory? Was it a glow like Moses off the mountain? Or was it just raw power to do? It wasn't. It was grace and truth. It was a kindness that doesn't lie to you and a truth that doesn't leave you. The thing about the whole weight of the name of Logos, the one who was, the one through everything was made, did not stay distant. He became one of us. The fairest Lord Jesus, like we sang earlier, so that we could become one of his. The Word that spoke galaxies into being also spoke your name and stepped down to find you. The only right response to that is worship. And maybe for some here this morning, that response is to simply receive him for the first time. The same Word that spoke the world into being, the same Word who knocked on the door of the manger and asked to be led into history, ask you that same question today. Is there room for him? Will you let him in? If you've never received him, if you've never believed in his name, that invitation is open to you this very moment. Again, not because of your bloodline, not because of your effort or your background, but because of his grace. And if you've already received him, if you've received the right to be called a child of God, as Bill reminded us last week, let this be a fresh reminder of who holds your life in his hands. and holds your days within his hands. Not an idea, not a distant, unpersonable force, but the eternal, all created, flesh and blood, Word, the Word, Jesus, who loved you enough